You are not earning what you're worth. You are earning what you've decided you're allowed to keep. And somewhere between the ages of 3 and 10, you signed a contract with money that you have never read once as an adult. That contract is still in force. Every raise you sabotage, every windfall that mysteriously evaporates, every ceiling you can almost touch but never break, it's all the contract enforcing itself. You think you have a financial strategy. You have a financial thermostat. And the temperature was set by people who weren't even talking to you. Picture the kitchen table when you were small, your mother flipping through a stack of bills, the muscle around her jaw doing that thing it did. Your father saying, "We can't afford it," in a voice that wasn't really about the money. The silence after. The way the air in the room got heavier when an envelope arrived. You weren't being taught economics in those moments. You were being initiated into a relationship, and the consciousness of a child absorbs that relationship the way a sponge absorbs the color of whatever it's dropped into. That's the soil your assumptions about money grew from. And here's what most adults still haven't understood about themselves. Your conscious goals are renting space in a basement your subconscious owns outright. Neville Goddard said it plainly. Assumption hardens into fact. Whatever you assume about yourself, with feeling becomes the lived reality of your life. The problem isn't that the law has exceptions for you. The law is working perfectly. It's just executing assumptions you forgot you were carrying. Notice the words that fell on you before you could defend yourself. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We're not that kind of family. Be grateful for what you have. Innocent sentences. Each one a brick. By the time you were 12, you'd built a small house out of those bricks. And now as an adult, you wonder why every financial opportunity has to enter through a door that small. So how does a thermostat actually work? It defends a setting. The moment reality drifts past what's been programmed in, the system kicks on and quietly drags everything back. Your inner world runs on the same logic. Earn well above your set point, and watch what happens. A surprise expense. A bad investment. A generous impulse that empties the account. A relationship drama that demands your savings. The mechanisms vary. The temperature returns. You've probably called this bad luck. It's a thermostat doing its job. The Kybalion describes a principle older than any of this language. As within, so without. The outer is the echo of the inner. If your inner climate around money is scarce, dangerous, slightly shameful, the outer cannot stay warm for long. The universe is mirroring you, and mirrors are very honest tools. So why doesn't awareness alone fix this? You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you can recite the principles, and still the thermostat holds. Here's why. Insight lives in the conscious mind. The contract lives one floor below. You can stand at the top of the stairs explaining new ideas to your subconscious, but it doesn't speak that language. It speaks repetition. It speaks the slow weight of assumed identity carried over time. This is the inner work the surface teachings skip over, and it's the only work that actually moves the dial. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious accepts whatever the conscious mind impresses upon it through feeling and repetition. Notice both words, feeling, repetition. A single affirmation said once with mild hope is a whisper into a hurricane. The childhood programming was thousands of charged moments over thousands of days, all carrying the same emotional signature. You're trying to overwrite that with a Tuesday morning intention and wondering why nothing shifts. The shift requires you to do something most people refuse. You have to feel rich while the bank account still says otherwise. You have to assume the identity of someone for whom money flows easily, while the evidence says it doesn't. You have to hold that assumption through the discomfort of contradiction, through the voice that says this is delusional, through the friend who asks how the job hunt is going. This is the part nobody puts on the inspirational poster. The discipline of the inner state, when the outer state has not yet bent to confirm it. Goddard called it living in the end. The end is the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the settled, ordinary, almost boring feeling of already being the person whose financial life works. Try this. Right now, in your body. What would you feel like if money was simply not a concern? Not euphoric, not relieved, just unbothered. A quiet certainty in the chest, the shoulders dropped a quarter inch. The future thought about with curiosity instead of clenching. That sensation is the destination. The bank account is the receipt. But here is where every honest teacher has to stop and look you in the eye. Critics of this work raise an argument that deserves real respect. People in genuine poverty did not assume themselves into it. An assumption alone will not feed a family this week. That's true. The law of assumption isn't a denial of circumstance. It's the recognition that circumstance is downstream of consciousness over time, and that the only place you ever have real leverage is the state you're choosing right now. Practical action still matters. The inner work determines whether your action flows from the identity of someone abundant or someone scrambling. Same action, different result, because the consciousness behind the action is what the world responds to. So what do you actually do with this? You start with mental diet. The phrase is Emmett Fox's, and it's exact. You watch what you feed the inner world the way a careful person watches what they put in their mouth. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I can't afford that, you pause. You notice. You don't shame yourself. You replace it with the assumption of the person you're becoming. That's not how I think about money anymore, said quietly. Said often, said until the thought feels less foreign than the old one. You revise. God had taught a practice called revision, and this is where the childhood contract gets renegotiated. At night, before sleep, you replay scenes from your past, the kitchen table, the bills, the tension, and you rewrite them in imagination. Your mother flips through the stack and smiles. Your father says, "Of course we can afford it," in a voice that's light. You feel the new feeling. You sleep on it. Do this for weeks and something strange begins to happen. The old emotional charge starts to fade. The thermostat starts to drift. You stop confessing poverty. Every casual sentence is a vote. I'm broke. Things are tight. I wish I could, but these are declarations of identity. And the subconscious is recording everyone. The mouth is a door. Stop walking your old assumptions through it. Notice how this work compounds. A week of mental diet feels like effort with no return. A month begins to feel like a new pair of glasses you forgot you put on. 3 months in, you catch yourself responding to a financial situation in a way the old you couldn't have. Not because you tried, because the inner climate has actually shifted and the outer is starting to follow. This is how the law moves, not in fireworks. In the quiet replacement of one identity by another, one assumed feeling at a time, until the new state is simply the default, and the world rearranges itself to keep you in it. You hold the feeling of the end through the day the way you'd hold a candle through wind. By attention. Every time you forget, you return. Every time the old story surfaces, you let it pass, and you return. This is the actual work, the only thing that has ever moved a thermostat. Now here's the part that should stop you cold. The childhood contract was signed without your consent. You were a small person in a room full of large emotions, and you absorbed what was there. That wasn't your fault. But the contract is still being honored today by an adult who can read and choose and assume and revise. That is your responsibility now. The parents who programmed you are not coming back to deprogram you. The culture that reinforced it isn't going to apologize. The thermostat is yours, the contract is yours, the pen is yours. There's a verse in the Bible that gets quoted constantly and understood rarely. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Notice the location, the heart. The felt assumed lived center. Thinking in your head about being wealthy will do nothing. Thinking in your heart, assuming it with the body, walking through your day as that person, that's the mechanism that rewrites everything downstream. So the question isn't whether you have a financial thermostat. You do. Everyone does. The question is whether you're going to keep letting a frightened child from 30 years ago set the temperature, or whether the adult standing here today is finally going to walk over and put a hand on the dial. You already know the assumption you've been living from. You can feel it the moment you check your balance. You can feel it when an opportunity appears and your gut tightens instead of opens. That feeling is the contract. And contracts can be rewritten by the parties who signed them. The pen is in your hand. It's always been in your hand. The kitchen table from childhood has been closed for decades, and the new table is the one you're sitting at. Tonight, sit down at it. Pick up the pen. Start writing the assumption you intend to live from now, not as performance, as identity. Quietly, daily, through the contradiction, through the doubt, through the part of you that swears this can't possibly work. The thermostat will resist. Let it resist. The child who set it has grown up, and the adult who finally found the dial is the one whose hand stays on it tonight.